Welcome back. Hillary supporters looking depressed at the moment. Let's listen in. They really are feeling as if the world has fallen on them. Okay, Amy Casman of Financial Times still with us. Amy, your sense, the world market's taking a hit across the world. What is it at the moment? Is it the unpredictability of Trump that is leading world markets in the direction that they are? Casey, is that the reason?
Absolutely, because he's disavowing trade deals, he's putting up barriers, he wants to do away with NAFTA, the integration of the Canadian and the Mexican economy with the US economy, highly disruptive, so nobody knows what's going to be the impact of that. Again, long term it may be good, it may reinvent America, but in the short to medium term it's going to disrupt business.
May I say one thing on this?
Yes.
You know, Rajdeep, over the last 10 years, it's been clear that the current trade order was not working. You know, WTO, the Doha round is stuck somewhere, and the Americans were trying to make a maneuver through the TPP and the TTIP. You know, so what I'm trying to say is that in any case, everything had actually come to a halt. So it may be a good thing that you have a destructive phase, that the old trade order, you know, kind of comes apart.
Including the rise of China.
The question is now what happens. See, no one expected after WTO accession of China in 2000 that it would be such a sharp rise of China.
Yeah.
You know, and Chinese took advantage by fiddling with the yuan. They kept the yuan. You know.
Do you see a confrontation between the US and China now building out trade conflict?
Trade confrontations.
You expect a trade confrontation?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so that's interesting. That, you know, clearly the unpredictability therefore is not just affecting India; it's affecting the world. And, you know, because Donald Trump clearly holds all kinds of mixed signals to people across the world at the moment. Professor, from an Indian perspective, would Narendra Modi, in your view, have been better off with a Hillary Clinton than a Donald Trump? There is a Republican Hindu coalition out there, which in a sense has embraced Donald Trump. We spoke to Shalabh Kumar earlier. Remember, there was that big convention that was held in New Jersey, celebrating Donald Trump. So there is a measure of possibly commonality that might be found between Trump and Modi.
Or subtle outreach.
Or subtle outreach, yes.
One of the things I think when we talk about Indo-US relations, we should remember that it is not going to be swayed by a single presidency. It is a relationship that is, you know, maturing over a long period of time, and a shift from the Indian point of view has been clearly with the Indo-US nuclear deal, which was done, as you would remember, under a Republican regime. So we are, you know, it is going to continue and build and deepen that particular relationship.
So you believe that the relationship will deepen?
Yes.
So from an Indian perspective, it doesn't make that much of a difference. But Amy Casman, across the world, Financial Times, your sense, do you believe that in the short run, the fact that Trump has spoken tough on IT, on outsourcing, will have an impact on Indian investments, will have an impact on India?
Look, I think it's very clear that Donald Trump, I mean, what has propelled him to victory is a resentment in the white working class, an anti-immigration mood, an anti-foreign mood, an anti-ethnic diversity mood. So, I mean, in terms, I mean, there could be under Trump, I mean, one problem and one reason why markets are reacting so strongly is because there's really a lot of uncertainty about exactly what he'll do. But, I mean, there could be a real rise in protectionist sentiment. The U.S. has been a relatively open economy. Countries like India, countries like China have benefited by the U.S. economic openness to exports, to immigration of talent. We could see the end of that. We could see a clampdown on HB1 visas that have allowed so many IT software engineers from India to go and, you know, succeed in the U.S. software industry. So I think Donald Trump represents, you know, a backlash against globalization in all its elements, in the element of foreign goods, foreigners, and so I think we could see the beginning of a closing down of that and the U.S. sort of retreating into itself, although to what extent he'll really act on some of the more draconian promises like tearing up trade deals. I mean, it's really hard to tear up a trade deal once you've agreed to it. It's not that easy. I don't think he can just do it by executive fiat, but the tendency and trend will be there, and I don't think we can expect any more economic opening. And I do think also that, like, you could see rising tensions between a kind of I mean, Trump just seems like a very highly erratic and unpredictable character. So some of the U.S. relations with its major trading partners partners could be marked by a sense of real volatility. I think, none of that is really necessarily beneficial to India because businesses depend on a predictable environment, a predictable climate where they can plan their strategies, plan their policies. And so I think we could see a kind of a roiling in the global markets and in the global economy. But it's really hard to say. It's hard to know how much is kind of heated, empty rhetoric and what he'll actually do, if, as it looks like, he actually comes to power.
Interesting. Just one thought, Amy. Given what's been happening in the US, do you believe that it is ultimately a certain dislike for Hillary that perhaps was at the core of it? Or do you believe that this is a divided country and therefore Trump was able to capture the larger side of that divide? Was it anger against Hillary, a certain dislike against Hillary that enabled Trump to squeak home? Or is this a divided America that we are talking about today?
Look, I think something that, your commentators haven't spoken a lot about, but something that I as an American woman and many of my educated American women friends feel is that at the root of Hillary's apparent loss of this election and the kind of deep-rooted antipathy to Hillary is a deep-rooted misogyny among many, conservative American men and within American society. Hillary has for decades been pilloried by a male-dominated media. She represents a generation of American women who began to break some of the first barriers. I mean, now for women my age to have a position like I have, to be prominent in business, to be prominent in public roles is not so unusual. But when Hillary, came as the First Lady of Arkansas, as married to Governor Bill Clinton, the fact that she was a working woman was a major issue. So you had media essentially incredibly uncomfortable with this educated, articulate, powerful in her own right woman who did not play a traditional role. And she has battled against that for decades. And that is really, I think, at the root of this mistrust and dislike of Hillary. It's just the dislike of an uppity woman who didn't play the proper role, who was out there breaking glass ceilings for many women like the rest of us. And I mean, to be honest, I think it's very demoralizing to see that somebody as professionally qualified, as committed when she was in power. Yes, go on.
So sorry to, I'll come back to you for more. I need to take a break, but I just want to put one fact clear. 50 years ago, Indira Gandhi became India's Prime Minister. We are 50 years ahead of you, Amy, when it comes to getting women elected to the top post. I thought this was the day America was going to break the ultimate glass ceiling. It looks like you haven't. I mean, we will still wait before the final, before the fat lady sings in a way. But clearly at the moment it appears that India has been 50 years ahead of the United States when it comes to electing a woman for the top post. America may still have to wait for its first woman president. Is it misogyny? Is it bigotry? Or is it simply a mood for change? We'll have to wait to the numbers, to dissect the micro numbers to find that out.